Okay. Good afternoon. This is Jack Healey. About 1973, I had directed Freedom from Hunger and Young World Development rather successfully. We had done very well. We raised about 12 to $15 million against world hunger, and what we had been doing was duplicated by so many other groups, and successfully as well. It's kind of lowered our income, so it was time to move on. And I wondered what I was going to do. And at the end of my tour at Amnesty, or at Freedom from Hunger and Young World Development, I went over to the end of a Dick Gregory run. I think it was from Chicago or Detroit to Washington. And I had met Dick before in Milwaukee in the 60s when James Groppe was marching. I used to drive up there from Pittsburgh to join Father Groppe. So I knew him very lightly, saying hello and spending time with Father Groppe and Dick Gregory. We did do that. So I get there, and this is about 93, I think. And I really don't know what I'm going to do next, but I thought, oh, I like what Dick was about and what he was doing. He's a pretty famous comedian all over the world. So I just wanted to hang out with him. So it ended up that I'd start working for him, with him, for the next 3 years was really what it turned out to be. I want to tell you one of these stories about Dick Gregory. One day I was up at his house in this beautiful home up on a hill in outside of Boston, and we were there to discuss what Dick should do next. And that's sort of was part of my job, along with other people, on what he should be doing. And I was on the plane earlier in that week, and I asked Dan Rather on the flight from DC to New York, or vice versa, one or the other, and he said, "We're a little leery and weary of Dick Gregory." And I thought, I should think about that. So what I did was, Dick's a runner, is there a way we could use that run? And then we spotted, in this conversation, we spotted that it was the bicentennial was in 76, 200th anniversary, and it was, we could do something around that. So that gave us that kind of backing. And then Dick said, "Yeah, I like running." So I said, "Well, how about if we run from Los Angeles to New York City, and we partially steal the thunder of the tall ships coming in?" I said, "Because one of those tall ships is a torture ship." He said, "You mean it?" "Yeah, it's called Esperanza. It was used as a torture ship under Pinochet." So I said, "Well, we should do something else." I said, "Yeah, you run across the United States." So that's what was decided upon at that way. That's the meeting we were at of having. And meanwhile, he says to me, all of a sudden, "Charles Mingus is coming." And I go, "Oh, okay." I knew it was important to him because of the way he said it, but I didn't know who Charles Mingus was. And so we go outside, we meet him. His wife is there, real nice lady, and she's going to go to the airport quickly. So Charles says to Dick, "Dick, I'm down. I'm not feeling good. I don't know what's wrong with me. Just I'm overweight. Then you got to tell me how to lose some weight. There's those kinds of issues." So Dick says, "Jack, take Charlie down to the boathouse, which is down on the water, and the nice house was up on the hill." And so I took Charles Mingus down there, and we had a cook, Big Mike, who worked for Dick. He cooked us a great meal. So across the table, I said to him, "Sir, what do you do?" He looked at me like I lived on the moon or something. "You mean you don't know who Charles Mingus is?" So the greatest bass player in the world, and I'm asking who he is. So anyway, we got through that reasonably. And I said, well, how's that work? He said, well, tum, tum, tum. Oh, that's what that is, that big old thing. But anyway, we got along. I told him I was the next priest. He became very interested in that, wanted to know my sex life and so on. It was a riot. I actually had fun with him. We ended up doing okay. And about, I would say 3 or 4 in the morning, I really don't remember. Started probably around 4. And Dick wakes me up and said, Dick, come on out, Jack, and just stand in the corner and watch this. And he had one light and a chair over there and one light and a chair over here. So he went and got Charles Mingus, and Mingus comes out and sits in this chair. And Dick takes the microphone up front. So he then proceeded for the next, I'd say, hour and a half, maybe hour and 15 minutes. He told stories and jokes and conspiracies, and Mingus is sitting there howling, laughing, crying, weeping. Noticed the whole show just for him, It was really beautiful. And at the end of it, when it does end, Charles Mingus just says to Dick, Dick, I'm feeling so damn good, I'm ready to go, or whatever it has to be. And so Dick said, thank you, Charles. I was happy to be here. And left. I went to my room. Mingus went to his room. We went on with life after that. But what I saw was one iconic figure with another iconic figure, and one was in trouble, and the other one helped him with his humor. He used humor to heal. And he took the great, generous motion to come down and perform for him in a little boathouse. And truly, it was an amazing and an important moment for me to be there, to see that kind of generosity and kindness and friendship exhibited between two iconic figures, really. So I was just blessed to be in that spot at that time.
Jack, when you're talking about, I think you told me this story before, where he sits down, puts the 2 chairs down, and they do a little kind of therapy, right? So is that kind of what happens there?
Which one?
Well, when Mingus and Gregory,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of something else, but so they put down 2 chairs.
That was Bruce,
Ah,
I think.
okay.
But I could go on about the Mingus thing. You're right.
Yeah, because I just remember this one. I thought it was interesting, and you're talking about 2 iconic people, one healing the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very interesting piece.
I think to continue the story about Charles Mingus, the interesting thing about him, once he found out I didn't know who he was, and he explained what he's the best bass player in the world, he asked me about what I did, and I told him I was an ex-priest, and he got terribly interested in about my studies. Do we learn different languages? What's that like to be celibate? Did you have any sex life at all? He just wanted to know all that kind of stuff. And it was interesting because as time went on, then he became as interested of things he didn't know about the priesthood that I didn't know about music. And so I think we exchanged each other's lack of knowledge, and we got along rather famously, I think. And at the end, he's one more person that I loved what Dick could do. Dick Gregory, from my knowledge of him, probably helped more celebrities and their celebrities' children than anybody I've ever known. He was consistently on the phone, either about nutrition or where you could do something or get something or get some help, go see this person, get that doctor. He was consistently on the phone, mainly with uh, parents that had drugs or their children had drug problems. And he would counsel them in the best way possible, and then add his nutritional push, which he always was about. Um, I remember when Muhammad Ali joined Dick Gregory in the run across the country, in somewhere, maybe St. Louis, I forget exactly where he came. But Dick discovered he had a high meat, kind of diet, and he Dick changed it for him over to, more of a holistic, more healthy eating habits than Muhammad had before that. And so he was always talking about nutrition and power of the personality and keeping yourself strong, using, the best produce and fruit you can find, and he was always about that. And very few people know that about him. They think about a company that he owned, which worked, um, which he eventually lost. But his interest was in just bringing people up to their full power and allowing them to do everything they want to do in life with some juice and fun. Um, but he was wonderful to work with. I um, they in the film about him, the documentary, they talk about his anger. It's funny because I was with him for 3 years, and I never ever saw anger in him at all, ever. And we went through a lot of different problems together. The the time that I should record about, Dick told me this story that I was back from my tour of duty, and my first 2.5 years, you come back from the Peace Corps from your country, and you get a month off or something. Anyway, I see Dick in that period, and he says he's going to Iran to help get the hostages out, and he wants me to go with him. Again, like I'd be working for him. And I told him, no, no, Dick, I have to be alive to fight apartheid in Lesotho. So I have to be alive to be able to do that. I can't go with you this time. I got to get back to Lesotho. So he was disappointed, but he told me the story as he remembered it of seeing Khomeini. So he fasted a long time in a hotel in Tehran, and because the Shiite Muslims, they pay attention to fasting as an important spiritual weapon, spiritual thing to do with God. So that has tremendous respect in the Shiite world. So it caught the attention of the government that he was there to try and free the prisoners and so on. And he was invited over to see Khomeini. So um, he didn't know whether it was true or not, or he'd see someone else. He's doing what he could to try and free the hostages, if I remember the story correctly. And so he said that he sat down on the floor because the Persians use the floor quite a bit. They like the rugs and sit on the floor, and it's quite common. And then he had a translator there, and then they would just wait, for the great Khomeini to come in the door. And he finally did, and comes down, sits down on the floor, and sits there with his head down for quite a while, like a prayer, and looks up and says, "Well, what I want you to do is go back to the United States and create a revolution among the blacks in the United States." And he drops his head again. So Dick said he prayed for a little while, and then looked up and said, "Okay," he said, "if you'll give me your oil wells, I'll do that." And he said the translator, beads started coming up on his face, because this was still a very difficult period of Iran. People who live and diet and being tortured, man, and here's Khomeini himself. So it was that, that's the story of Dick and the Imam Khomeini in Tehran, Iran, about 19. What year was that? So he's be about 79, 78, 78, 76, 70, something like that. I forget, but it's a great story. I love hearing that from him.
I like that one too. I just imagine that moment.
Oh
Seeing
yeah.
that.
I want Lynn Nottage to write that play into a play. I think that'd be a great play. Because